Hello, good afternoon everyone, and welcome to this afternoon's webinar. Those of you who have watched one of our webinars over the course of the last year may well have met me already, because I've been introducing a lot of them for colleagues. This time it's my turn, together with managing partner Martin Hopkins, to present to you today, and I finally start to understand why colleagues tell me when I'm introducing them, and I reassure them that all will be well and there's no need to feel nervous, why they look at me rather strangely. Nevertheless, you are all welcome. Today we're going to be looking at a particular aspect of Birkett Long's business, which is how Birkett Long's commitment to people, environments and communities benefit our clients. So Katie, if we could have the next slide, please. As I've said, I'm Philip Hoddell, I'm the chairman of Birkett Long. Joining me today also Martin Hopkins, managing partner. But before we go on to the next slide, I also just wanted to say a thank you to one of our colleagues, Katie Robertson, who throughout the year has worked tirelessly behind the scenes to help us put on these webinars. Katie, without your help, we couldn't have done so successfully, and we're very grateful to you for everything that you've done. So thank you very much for that. And we'll look at the next slide. So today what we've done is we've broken down our talk this afternoon into a number of different categories, and Martin and I are going to sort of play tag with them and sort of deal with one each as we go through it. We're going to look at Birkett Long and its people, and in all of these topics we think of people in the sort of widest possible sense. We're going to look at the environment in which we practice, and also the communities that we work with, whether they be geographical or sector-based communities, and we'll be looking at all of those things. We'll also take some questions, of course, at the end, and hopefully we'll be able to answer any questions that you have. So, turning to the next slide. Let's look at Birkett Long's purpose, which for us, as it says here, is to improve lives, businesses and communities. We have very deliberately kept that as a fairly widely phrased commitment. So the lives of our colleagues, the lives of our clients, and the lives of the wider communities in which we find ourselves practicing. And very much the same for businesses. We're looking at your business, at our business, and also at businesses that we don't necessarily represent yet, but might do in the future. And we're looking at, as I said earlier, communities which might be sector-based communities, educational, institutional communities, or the communities in which we live and work. So, next slide, please. Where I wanted to start this afternoon is just to talk a little bit about our birthday. So in 2021, Birkett Long, in its various guises, reached the grand old age of 200. And we started thinking about what we could do to celebrate our birthday. Obviously, in 2021, we were still living in fairly strange times. We were very much aware of the fact that there was a great deal of uncertainty. We had suffered that with our colleagues, and we know that the wider communities and client base that we serve had suffered it too. So we thought what we could do is probably, instead of receiving birthday presents, we could give some. So we came up with the idea of our Birkett Long 200 campaign and decided to go out with random acts of kindness in the community. You can actually have a look at some of the pictures and commentary from our campaign on our website. If you go to the section that says about us and look at the BL200 subsection of that, there's a lot of really nice pictures there of some of the things that we did. Sometimes it was very simple, sending out some flowers or some cakes or some chocolates or something like that. Sometimes it was going along and actually seeing people insofar as we were able to with the lockdown restrictions that were in place. But we basically tried to make sure that we gave as many birthday presents to other people as we could. Over 3,000, in fact, to more than 3,500 people. It was a campaign that we were very proud of getting involved in. And in fact, our marketing team, who of course gave us many of the ideas for it, were very successful and won an Essex Business Award for digital marketing in the Countywide Business Awards, which we're very proud of them, and we're very proud of the campaign that they masterminded. In fact, we were so enthused by it, we thought, well, let's start another campaign, and we're now running with our Here for Good campaign. It's an ongoing campaign. Again, there's lots of details about it on our website, and we'll come back to talk a little bit more about that later on. The next slide, please. Many of us came into the law for all sorts of different reasons, but what we share in common at Birkett Long is the desire to try and do some good things for our clients, for our community, for our colleagues, and really that's the reason why we think that we're here and where we want to try and aim our efforts. We're trying to improve lives, we're trying to improve businesses, and we're trying to improve communities. And it's really the desire to do that that drives many of us here, and something that I feel anyway makes Birkett Long a great place to work. Martin and I, between us, have nearly 60 years of combined service at Birkett Long. We aim to improve that figure in due course, but we're also trying to make sure that we bring through always the next generation of Birkett Longers to carry on the good work. And we've got some great people, and hence the name of our campaign, We're Here for Good, we're here to do good, but also we hope we're here for good, if that makes sense. So next slide, please. I wanted to share a few of our Birkett Long values with you. They're very much based around the idea of service, as I've already mentioned, but this time we're talking about client service. We want to try to deliver excellent service for all of our clients, by all of our colleagues, all of the time. That's a very ambitious aspiration. We know that we have to keep continually working at it, and that we need to keep trying to improve, because service levels don't stand still. The expectations on us are great, and we look forward to trying to rise to the challenge of them. And underpinning our desire to do that is a genuine sense of caring, caring about our clients, caring for each other, which has never been probably more important than it is now, and caring for our communities as well. And really what I've tried to do in this introduction is just to summarise a little bit about what I feel about Birkett Long, what my partners and my colleagues feel in terms of why we practice as lawyers and what we're aiming to try to do. I'm now going to hand over to Martin, who's going to talk about people. Over to you, Martin.
Thanks very much, Philip. Just before I get started talking about people, I can't let it go by that you've mentioned that we have nearly 60 years combined service with Birkett Long. It's made me feel rather old as I start this presentation for everyone, but I'll get over that and move on. So if we could have the first slide, please, Katie. Thank you. So this is a list of some of the things that we do for our people to show them that we do care for them. There's things including our wellbeing commitment, and I'll provide you with an example of that. But also you can see listed on the slide some of the other things that we do. I'm not intending to go through each of those. If people have questions at the end, then by all means raise a question. But our view is that part of our role as an employer is really to inspire and enable our people to be able to be the best version of themselves that they can be. We think that our commitment to our people, some of the things that we've listed on this slide, will help people achieve that. What we found during the imposition of lockdowns during the pandemic was that we were actually forced to work harder in showing our people that we cared, because we weren't seeing them on a day-to-day basis. And the interesting thing for us, as lockdowns have stopped and the impact of the pandemic has lessened, is it would have been quite easy to say we don't need to do that in the same way anymore. But actually, our decision as a business was that we should continue with showing our people that we care, working harder at doing that. And in fact, we should try and increase our efforts, even though we weren't required to do that because of the effect of lockdowns. We saw success in the way that our teams were working together. We saw better engagement with all of our people. So we're continuing that, and we're looking to improve on that. I said I'd mention the wellbeing commitment. This is something that our HR and L&D team have worked very hard on, and it's looking at a number of initiatives that we've been working on, really looking at how we can meet our responsibility to look after our people. And it may be that we come back to some more examples of that as we work our way through the slides. If we can move to the next slide, please, Casey. So that work that I was talking about in showing our people how we care culminated in these rankings that are shown on this slide. We're incredibly proud to have been named the 7th best law firm to work for in the whole of the UK. We're particularly pleased about that when we look at some of the other firms that we're being compared with, other firms who are in the top 10, who we may in the past have looked up to in terms of how we rank ourselves against them, but also other firms who perhaps we've seen as equals. We've shown that with our commitment to well-being, our commitment to engagement with our people, we are performing better than them. I think particularly we are pleased with these results because a significant part of the best companies rankings is based on an assessment on an anonymous basis that is given by our own people. They are surveyed on 2 occasions during the past year and asked particularly how they feel about their working environment, their benefits, their workloads, all of these kinds of issues. So this is something where our staff, our people, have ranked us as the 7th best law firm to work for in the UK. We've been rated as an outstanding organisation, and when I talk to some other businesses who are also going through the best companies surveys, to receive that ranking is really quite tough, and it shows how hard we've worked to continue to show support to our employees, to all of our people. And finally, on that slide, to have a score of 86% of our employees agreeing that Birkett Long is run on strong values and principles is really reassuring, really pleasing for us, that they see that this is something we're committed to, but also we are sharing that with them, we're communicating it to them. Next slide, please. Interestingly, we feel that in order to build on these successes, we need to continue to develop and improve our approach, much in the same way that Philip was talking about demands on us in terms of client service continue to change and continue to ask more of us from our clients. We see that our people rightly are expecting more from us as an employer. we feel that what we are doing will reflect what candidates want from us in the future. And it's actually quite exciting for us that there will be greater opportunities for recruitment, but also retention of people in what is quite a competitive market, coming from us doing more of this and speaking more about it. It is clear that candidates of today, but also candidates in the future, will look very closely at what our approach is to our people, but also to our communities. Next slide, please. Over to Philip.
Thank you very much, Martin. So I'm going to now talk a little bit about our environment and our commitment to it. I was very excited to hear on the news today, actually, about the successful experiments that have come out of the United States, where the idea of hydrogen fusion, which may provide us with enormous amounts of clean energy in the future, have had a bit of a breakthrough. However, I think we can all agree on something, which is that we have a huge responsibility to the environment in which we live, planet that we live on, and of course to the future generations, our children, our future colleagues, our future clients, and our future communities. So we've made a commitment to that. We're trying to make sure that we have sustainability at the heart of what we're doing. And Katie, if we could look at the next slide. We've got some examples there of some of the actions that we've been taken. So we've got the commitment. Again, I'm not going to take you through all of the detail of every point, but we have a commitment to a sustainable and healthy working environment and to minimise our impact. We make sure that we try and achieve the statutory standards, obviously, which we're pleased to do, but we're also trying to reduce the amount of resources that we consume, reuse in order to help with that, and recycle wherever we can. We want to make sure that we measure and then reduce our carbon footprint, and we want to make sure that we work with our employees, who we know, again, are very keen on these sorts of initiatives, and also with the people with whom we work, to try to make sure that it's a joined up and combined effort. But we also, of course, have an environment and energy group led by our partner, David Rayner, and we regularly advise clients on how they can best contribute to the whole topic of environmental sustainability. Indeed, David contributes to the Essex Climate Change Commission, and we're very proud of his involvement with that. Next slide, please, Katie. So we're trying to promote a healthy workforce and get buy-in through our employee voice group. This is a group of employees who are elected to represent the voice of our colleagues, who receive ideas either anonymously or straightforwardly, and who are able to link and liaise with our management team to put ideas that actually come from the firm. We're working to try to make sure that we have green champions at all of our locations, and to make sure that we engage properly across the firm with all of that. But obviously we lease our buildings, so we try to work with our landlords to achieve more through working with them. And we're very proud of the fact, for example, that we have solar panels on the roof of our Colchester office, which is helping to reduce our carbon footprint and contribute energy back to the grid. We're trying to reduce our energy use, lighting and heating in particular. A little bit difficult to reduce the heating when it's as cold as it is at the moment, but we do have a lot of automatic switch offs, and I have been reminded the room I'm sitting in does have an automatic switch off light, so unless I move a little bit from time to time, you could be seeing me in the darkness at any moment. But again, we want to make sure that we're using power responsibly. We have recycling facilities at all of our premises, and we all encourage each other to recycle as much as we possibly can. And we're also looking at ways of reducing our travel. We have the facility to conduct virtual meetings with clients and with colleagues between our offices, with our clients' offices or their home addresses. And in that way, I think we are making a big contribution there. We support the Colchester Travel Plan. And again, there is more detail about that on our website if you're interested to look at it. And then finally, of course, we try to liaise with those who supply us to make sure that they are similarly committed in the same way that we are to try to reduce their own environmental impact. Next slide, please. So a recent formation within Birkett Long is our net zero team. This consists of 7 colleagues drawn from across the firm, across the offices, and across all levels of the firm. And they are, if you like, trying to help coordinate and encourage us to try to reduce the carbon footprint of the staff and Birkett Long. And they've set us an ambitious target of actually achieving net zero carbon emissions within the next 8 years, well ahead of the government's target of 28 years. Why do we do all of this? We want to be able to work sustainably. We want to be able to work efficiently. We are running a business, but we want to run a business that doesn't waste resources. And more importantly, I think all of us who are in business have a commitment to try to leave behind a world that those coming through can enjoy. Birkett Long, having been here for 200 years so far, we really do intend to be here for good, and indeed here for good. Next slide, please. Finally, a little bit of a word about how clients, global consumers, have a high expectation these days of businesses operating responsibly to address these issues, these social issues, these environmental issues. It's something we're very conscious of. We have an expectation on the suppliers who we work with, and we expect and welcome the fact that our clients and the businesses we work with have similar expectations of us. Next slide, please. I'm going to hand you back to Martin to talk a little bit about community.
So thank you, Philip. The third element really of what we talk about is our community, and we can talk about the communities that we operate in terms of geography. We have offices in Colchester, in Chelmsford and in Basildon, and we play a role in all of those local communities. But it's wider than that as well. It's some of the communities that we operate within in terms of the law that we practice. So it may be the community of lawyers who are practicing divorce and matrimonial law within a particular location, but also specific communities who we might be assisting. A good example would be parents of children who have special educational needs, where over this year we've developed a very large and vibrant Facebook group where through our role in that community we've been able to share information and assist many parents in being able to speak to the education providers where their children might be being educated at that time. So a little bit more about the examples of what we do within our communities. Next slide, please, Katie. So the first and probably the newest example of what we've been doing is the Birkett Long Community Fund. And what we've done is we've set up a fund in the firm's name with Essex Community Foundation, and we raise funds and the Community Foundation sources charities in our local communities where we can direct donations. And the way it works, without going into too much detail, is that we are building an endowment fund. The income from that endowment can then be used to support local charities. The partners of Birkett Long agreed that in order to establish this fund, that they would donate £50,000 from the firm's profits to really kickstart that fund. All of our people will be raising money over coming years to be able to continue to build that endowment fund, and we can then use the income. We can even take some money from the fund if we decide to support local charities that the firm want to support. And I put an emphasis there on the firm because there will be an opportunity for everyone to be involved in that. We will have a committee who will work with the Community Foundation to decide not only how we might be raising money, but also which charities we support. But that committee will be drawn from across our whole business, and it will take soundings from all of our people. We see it as an alternative, perhaps, to the way businesses might have raised money for charities of the year each year. This we see as an opportunity for us to build a longer term endowment fund that can continue to build in size and at the same time support some local charities. Next slide, please. We've got a case study now to talk about, and a video to play you, which for me really emphasises and proves the difference that we can make as a business within our local communities. Lee Miller from Great Hawksley has early onset vascular dementia, diagnosed at the age of 51. He's entering the Ironman race in Bolton and has aspirations to complete the Ironman World Championships in Hawaii. He approached us and a number of businesses to help with the final stage of funding for his bike. Anyone who's ever had anything to do with triathlons will know that equipment is a very important part of being able to complete what is such a significant challenge. And Lee needed help to be able to purchase a specialist road bike to help him in his endeavours. And probably the best thing is, rather than me keep talking, we'll hand over to Lee, who can talk you through. Thanks very much, Katie, and a really inspiring story there from Lee, and shows what was a relatively small donation from us can make such a significant difference to one individual. We look forward to hearing more about how Lee has gone on, and we'll be sharing that with all of our people, but also more widely across our communities. So next on this slide, we just wanted to take you through, again, just an extract of some of the examples of the roles that we play within our communities. We could probably fill a whole session on these examples with the number of things that we do as a business, but also with the number of things that individuals within our business are involved with. Things like the Colchester bid, where we have a representative who assists the bid with the work that they're doing to try to improve the town of Colchester. We have a lot of colleagues who are governors and trustees. We've run the £50 challenges, raising money for St Helena and Farley hospices for a number of years now. The list goes on, and you can see it there. But I actually thought, as I was preparing for this session this week, that there's one good example for me that isn't on this list, and particularly at this time of year, I feel that it's a good example. We, at the beginning of this month, shared with all of our staff a voucher for a supermarket of their choice, because we recognise that this time of year can be an expensive time for people. So every member of staff within Birkett Long had a £100 voucher for a supermarket of their choice. I've been amazed by the number of colleagues who have spoken to me over the last week or two to say that what they've decided to do is to use that voucher either to purchase food for their local food bank, or to make donations to particular charities that they might be involved with. So our colleagues showing there that where we're looking to support them, they're passing that forward to their local communities. And really good examples for me of how not only are we as a business looking to support our communities, our people are voting with their feet and doing the same. Next slide, please, Katie. And then just some examples really in pictures as evidence of the kinds of things that we do, but also how our people get involved in so many events that we might sponsor or we might be assisting with. Some pictures there of the Rittle Equine Academy, the new kit being proudly sported by the Colchester Kings Rugby Club, and then a number of us engaged on walks and runs and various fundraising activities. Next slide, please, Katie. And to finish, really, this quote shows the added benefit for us and also our clients of what we're doing. We're a part of a vibrant local and business community around Colchester and Chelmsford and Basildon, and we are fed by those communities. That's what we feel has given Birkett Long success for 200 years. We wouldn't seek to change that. In fact, we would look to expand on it. Then on to the next slide, please, Katie. We feel that our commitment to our communities does provide us with a source of clients and repeat business, and the commitment also builds our trust and our reputation. This tangible action on the ground that we take shows that we're not just box ticking or throwing money or making some kind of nod to a CSR agenda. We are genuinely committed and genuinely taking action to support all of our local communities. Providing this support, our communities will look to support our business and to work with us. Thank you very much. I'm going to hand back to Philip.
Thank you very much, Martin. It falls to me to sort of summarise some of the things we've been talking about this afternoon. We've really put up there, it's not just about knowing the law, although please do rest assured we do know the law. It's not just about knowing about Birkett Long human resources, or Birkett Long financial advice, or Birkett Long intellectual property. Although again, please do rest assured we do know about these sorts of things. It's about the impact that we have through our practice, the impact on our environment, the impact on the businesses that we work with and on our own business, and our impact on the communities in which we practice, in which we work, in which we live. These are really the golden threads that run through Birkett Long. They're the sort of things that we try to hang everything on. We are very aware of the fact that we wouldn't have flourished over the course of the last 2 centuries without the commitment of our predecessors, without the commitment of ourselves, and without the commitment of our successors in due course. Simply put, without these sorts of commitments, Birkett Long would not exist in the format that we wanted to. The next slide, please, Katie. And really what I wanted to do here was just, I suppose, to sort of summarise how we look at the sort of the circle of what we're doing. Going back to our agenda this afternoon, it isn't really about having great lawyers, although I happen to think we do have some great lawyers and we have some great advisors here at Birkett Long. It's not just about providing great service, although that's something that we are continually striving to do. It's about trying to make sure that we have happy people. It's about trying to make sure that we work in healthy environments, and it's about trying to make sure that we support thriving communities, because we genuinely believe that in that way, by doing those 3 things, that we can better serve our clients and we can better lead ourselves to a situation where we have clients who are happy with what we're doing and satisfied with the services that we are providing. But next slide, please, Katie. Please don't take our word for it. We'd love to hear from you. There are details of a survey there, but we really would appreciate some feedback. If it's good feedback, that's fantastic. If it's critical feedback, we will try to learn from it. But without feedback, the exercise, the circle is not complete. And so please do take the time, if you have a moment, to give us some feedback on that. Next slide, please. Our next webinar is going to be presented on the 11th of January. It's about special educational needs, parents and divorce, what you actually need to know. And if you're interested, or you know anyone who you feel might be interested, please either sign up yourself or ask them to sign up at www.birkettlong.co.uk/events. And really that concludes what Martin and I wanted to say this afternoon. But of course, we are hoping to have some questions. I know that we've got a couple of questions that we've got. One of them, which I'll take if I may, is about the solar panels on the roof of our Colchester office and what effect that's actually had in the 5 and a bit years that we've been here. Well, we have offset in excess of 50 tonnes of carbon dioxide as a result of the energy generated by those solar panels, which is equivalent to planting nearly 2,500 trees. That's a great figure. That's a great starting point, and I think that we and our colleagues are very proud of that. So that's the actual effect of that particular part of the buildings we've got. I know we've also got a question about our paper use, which I'm going to hand over, if I may, to Martin to deal with.
Thanks, Philip. Yeah, the question was around how our paper use may have changed with the impact of the pandemic. It won't surprise you that law continues to be quite a paper-heavy environment. We still have to produce some documents with original signatures on. And we still have to deal with some institutions, including the courts, who require us to provide paper. But we have made great steps in reducing our paper use. Pre-pandemic, we were using approximately 3 million plus pieces of A4 paper every year, a huge figure. We've reduced that post-pandemic to less than 700,000 per year. I still think that is too high. I still think that there is work that we can do to reduce that. But at the same time, we need to encourage some of the organisations and institutions that we work with that we shouldn't need to use quite so much paper. A knock-on effect of those changes as well has been that we've managed to reduce the number of printers that we have within our offices, and we've removed close to 60 printers, desk-side printers that were in place before the pandemic, that it became clear we no longer needed. That clearly reduces the consumption of things like ink, but it also reduces consumption of power. So lots of good steps towards reducing our impact on the environment, but I feel that there's more that we can do. Katie, I don't know if we've had any more questions come in whilst we've been speaking.
No, we haven't had any questions. If anybody does have a question, just put it into the Q&A and our speakers will answer, but otherwise, no, that's it.
Okay, Philip, I'm going to hand back to you just for the final word and to see if any more questions come in during that time, which will mean you'll need to answer them. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Martin. I think so. I think what it remains for me to do. I see we've got a question. How do you get employees who care mostly about money to participate in these projects? Obviously, money is very important to employees. We are all feeling a little bit of a pinch at times. Inflation is difficult. The cost of fuel is difficult. We acknowledge all of those things, but we overwhelmingly find that actually money is not all our employees care about. It's not all that people at Birkett Long care about, and there are so many different ways that people can contribute to what we do. They're not all of them involve a cost. Some of them involve the use of time. In fact, quite a lot of the things that we get involved in, we have more take up than we can handle sometimes. And I think that's probably because we have such a lot of enthusiasm amongst the colleagues who work here at Birkett Long. They genuinely want to get involved in the things that we're doing. And we also, through the employee voice group, are very open to their suggestions. So what we regularly have is we have colleagues saying to us, well, you're doing all of this, but actually I'd like us to do some of this as well. And we usually find that if it's a good cause to get involved in, or a good project to get involved in, other colleagues want to get involved in that as well. Right, well, thank you to everyone attending this afternoon. I hope it's been an enjoyable, I hope it's been an interesting conversation that we've been able to have. Martin and I would love to hear from you. There are our contact details there. Please give either of us a call, drop us an email, or send in an inquiry via the Birkett Long website. I think that all it probably remains for me to do, as I said, to thank you for coming. Thank you to Katie for putting this on, and our whole marketing team for all of their sterling efforts, and to wish you all, if it's not too early to do so, very happy Christmas and a very peaceful and prosperous New Year. Thank you all very much.